As real estate photographers, we've all been there. A white, cloudy, gray sky with a bunch of fine tree branches. How do I replace the sky in this image? I'm going to show you how to take this image from this to this using Photoshop. Stay tuned. Hello everybody, welcome. This is Atlas Image, a YouTube channel that is aimed towards intermediate to advanced real estate photographers, or at least people who want to go from beginner to intermediate and into advanced. I myself would consider myself intermediate, and I'm looking towards advanced techniques, things that are very sophisticated, high-end, deep knowledge, the wisdom of the real estate world. I have been doing real estate photography since 2022. This is my second year as a full-time real estate photographer, and this channel is just aimed towards learning more about the craft of shooting, editing, all of the different aspects that go into this workflow. And I want to make videos aimed towards people who want to take it from a casual pastime into something a little bit more serious and a little bit more artistic, refined, and professional. So if that rings out to you, please like, subscribe, interact with the channel in as many ways as you can. I would appreciate it a lot. And I hope that you are able to get something from this video. So we've all been there. We have the case in point poster child example of a sky replacement where, you're not going to replace a cleanly blue sky typically, unless you're making a day to dusk, a digital twilight. But typically the case is there's a lot of clouds, or it's overcast, whatever the case may be, and the sky just isn't popping. It looks flat, bleak, white, not interesting on the exterior. And this is honestly one of the most difficult sky replacements to do. And I'm going to show you why that is in a second. So I have this shot here, an image that I shot, I think last year. I'm going to show you quickly some different ideas, because I'm expecting you to come at this video not as a beginner who has no idea how to replace a sky. I expect you to have already become familiar with Select Sky and to become familiar with Edit Sky Replacement. I assume that you know what these things are. If you don't, go check those out. This isn't the video for you quite yet. I'm anticipating this video to be for people who have images like this and they say, the normal tools aren't cutting it, and I'm a bit at a loss for what to do with trees like this amidst a very white, cloudy background. Because this has been my problem for a long time too. And I have dedicated some time to hone in on this, to figure it out, and I hope that you guys are able to get something of value out of this video. So first off, I'm going to go over the different methods of sky replacement that you can do within Photoshop. I'm not talking about any kind of sky replacement or adjustment in Lightroom, Luminar Neo. I'm talking only about Photoshop. Luminar can have some really strong sky replacement capabilities, and I've used it in the past, especially for instances where the sky is just a little off and maybe I want it to be a bit brighter or more different. There's not a lot of trees in the scene. It's just clean lines of houses on the horizon, and the sky replacement does a perfect job in Luminar Neo. I have had that happen before in previous jobs. This is a case where Luminar Neo just will not cut it. Also, most of the Photoshop tools will not cut it either, and I'm about to go into that in this file here. So, this is my original file. As you can see, a lot of clouds. It was actually not an overcast day, because from behind, if you turn around and looked, you can even see in some of the areas of the windows, there's actually a blue sky in the reflection here. It was just, I was looking at a big wall of clouds looking towards the house on this particular day. And it just kind of, it looks overcast. It looks white and pale, and there's not really any splash of that blue color that you want in your sky. So I was okay, I need to replace this sky. So here are different methods that Photoshop offers in terms of sky replacement. The first is when you have your layer selected and you go to select, sky, and then it will try its best to select the sky that it thinks is in the image. Now, I'm using a very particular sky image during this whole video that will be in most of these images here. I don't think I included it in this particular one. I think I just did a very simple blue to white gradient. But if you do a select sky, it looks like this. Blue to white towards the bottom of the image. Obviously, this is trash. The tree is being cut into, it's not even being cut into very well. A lot of the fine branches are gone, but there's a lot of gray, white, shadowy ghosting going on around the trees, and the inner parts of the house trim are being cut into by the sky. This looks like crap. So I was thinking, if you have this select sky image here, how similar is this to the actual sky replacement tool within Photoshop? If I just hit select sky and mask it out, is that the same as the default settings of the sky replacement tool? So let me hide this. Let me go to the original layer, edit, sky replacement here. As you can see, just one second. It's loading off the side. As you can see, it defaults to a 0 shift edge and a fade edge of 50. And then it calculates these things based off of the differences between the sky image you choose and the foreground image, I think. I can't quite remember. It might just be based on the individual skies. Oh yeah, it looks like it's changing it. It's changing it a little bit. Interesting. I did not know that. I learned something during the making of this video. So I was curious, does select sky and then just masking that out match any of the settings in the sky replacement tool? It does. So, like I said, this is the select sky image. I have right here a sky replacement with the same sky at the default setting of fade edge 50. As you can see, it is not the same. Fade edge 50 fades the edge more than the select sky does. So I thought, okay, interesting. So select sky is not fade edge 50. Is it fade edge 25? No. It's more subtle here, but you can still tell that things are changing. I thought, okay, maybe it's fade edge 0. No edge at all. This is the exact same thing. So now we know if you ever take an image, go to edit, sky replacement, and then you fade the edge down to 0, and you include no lighting adjustments at all, turn these all down, this is the exact same as just selecting the sky and masking it out. So I hope that's been at least somewhat helpful for some people wondering what the difference between the two things are. Obviously, none of these are good. Even fading edge at 50 default without any adjustments, this doesn't look good. So we need to figure out a way to mask this sky with a bit more attention and finesse. So let's figure that out now. Okay, so this is a bunch of different methods tested out, and I'm going to show you the difference between all of these here. So here's our original image. Beneath it, we have the sky that we want to replace it with. Ironically, it's a nice ocean scene, but that's not really going to come up because it's going to be masked out by the actual house here. So like I said, this is just select sky with this sky image. It did an okay job at cutting out the tree. That probably wouldn't be a super big deal on an MLS listing, probably fine. But as you can see, it has cut into the trim. And if we toggle it on and off, you can see that it's actually removed a lot of the original branches. A lot, like maybe 20% of these branches are gone. up to 30%. It's cutting into them pretty strong. So not an optimal way. Let's try something else. So this is a sky replacement tool, the Edit Sky Replacement, with no adjustments. Okay, that did a better job than the Select Sky thing as far as the branches. The branches are back, but it's cutting into the trim way more. So that's not great either. We'll have to remedy that. And here is, so this no adjustments one is literally, if you take the original, you go to Edit, Sky Replacement, pick that sky, don't change anything and hit OK. All right. That is what this layer you're looking at is right here. So here's Select Sky, masking it out. Here is Sky Replacement Tool, same sky, no adjustments. Okay. So this is without me trying to shift the edge, fade the edge, anything like that. The branches are better, but it's cutting into the house more. So no good. So this is that same tool, same sky, but I've adjusted it to be a bit better. So if we're to contrast and compare, the branches are about the same, but the sky is a little more vivid and it's not cutting into the trim as much. You know, I've faded the edge, shifted the edge, brightened the sky, but still we're cutting into the trim. The branches are somewhat acceptable, but it's not great. So there's that. Now this layer right here is the same tool, but afterwards I've refined the mask. So allow me to show you this here. This is the mask for the adjusted tool, where within the sky replacement tool, I have tried to make it look as best as I can. And then I OK, and it gives me this result. As you can see, there's a lot of gray around the trees, and there's a lot of gray in the trim. So some of that is showing up in the trim when we turn on the sky replacement, right? So I refined it further on this one here, which is adjusted and refined. As you can see, I cut out most of the actual house, all of the parts of the house that aren't actually, you know, I just took a simple lasso tool like this, polygonal, and I went around the house and cut it out. But obviously there's still problems in the sky. There's gray around the house. There's a ton of gray in the tree itself. So if we have the original one, you look at the tree. If I hit this, the tree gets darker for no good reason. And even though I went around and I cut out the house, the lighting is still not quite correct. I mean, I maybe could have like zeroed all that out and it would look a little bit better, which, I mean, I guess I could do that now. If I turn off the edge lighting group and that one there, I mean, that's a little bit better, but still, if you zoom in, like there's these white halos around the branches and it doesn't look quite correct if you look at it closely. And couple that with like the gray around the sky, you just see this kind of like glow around the house that doesn't look normal at all. So that's with refining what the sky replacement tool gives you. Is, I mean, it's close. It could work for some MLS listings, and in a lot of cases, this might be enough for you. But if you want to go a step further to refine it even more, maybe something like this looks a little bit up your alley. The tree is sharp. All the details are there. There's no weird lighting on the house. In fact, it looks completely natural. It looks sharp around the edges, and the sky looks bright, distant in the background. It matches the scene. So here are your different options. Here's your original. Select sky. Nope, that's trash. No good. Sky replacement tool with no adjustments. Doesn't quite do the job. We need to adjust it. It's still not quite doing the job. So let's adjust it and refine it. Still not doing the job. The tree is dark. The house has weird lighting around it. Let's do it manually. Boom. We're done. This is what I'm going to show you how to do today. So follow along closely, please. Okay, everybody. here we are in the actual meat of the tutorial. Now, I have to shout out a certain person who made a certain video, and I searched out this topic to figure out this problem because, like I said, I've been having this problem of having a sky that is not blue, which is the reason you're replacing it, with a tree that is so finely detailed that any automated tool makes it incredibly difficult to cut out the tree. But I found a video here on YouTube that covers it. I am going to show it here. It is Klaus Hermann's sky replacement in Photoshop without the ugly edges. It is 6 years old, uploaded in 2017. It's one of the last videos he has uploaded onto YouTube. I hope he's doing well, doing whatever he's doing. I have downloaded this video. If for some reason this video becomes unavailable on YouTube at any point, reach out to me. I have the video file available. I can upload it unlisted again with Klaus's permission, whatever it might be, but I have this resource available if it becomes unavailable, but the link should be in the description. This is one of the most fantastic sky replacement videos I have ever seen, because it covers this problem and this topic that I've been trying to solve for so long, and it is not a quick and easy process. It takes time, it takes effort on every photo. It's somewhat automatic. You can follow the steps pretty closely and probably get a good result without having to have a lot of extra steps, probably. But I think it showcases the fact that we as real estate photographers and editors need to be willing to charge for this kind of work. After the end of this video, I think you'll agree that an authentic high-end sky replacement should cost a decent amount of money. $7, $10 maybe. I know a lot of places charge $5 for a sky replacement per photo, but on this end and this level, it is very professional, very high-end. Don't be afraid to charge upwards of $10 for a sky replacement of this degree, because it is very hard to mimic without these specific steps and methods that I'm going to show you here today. Courtesy of Klaus Hermann, thank you again. I'm basically just copying his method from this video for this video here. So God bless you, buddy. Let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so here is our image here. As you can see, like I showed you, we have a very white sky, but a lot of fine tree branches to mask out here. A bit of a problem for sure. I have my sky ready here. I'll probably link these in the description, at least this specific sky image maybe. I could also link this in the description as well if you guys want this to practice along with. But I have the original image here and the sky below it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a group where we're going to throw a mask on. Just to have a mask on something that is not the actual original image here. So let's click the image, go to channels, and then we will click blue. Now, the blue image here, you're going to pick this because it's probably going to give you your best kind of contrast anyway, because the sky is typically a bluer color, a lighter color, and it's just easier to work in this blue channel. So what we will do is we will hold Control. I'm not going to go over all of the different Windows and Mac commands. I assume if you have a Mac, you know what Control is on your Mac. You know what Alt is on your Mac. I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to talk like I'm using Windows. So hold Control, click the blue channel. We've selected it. Go back to the layers. We can also actually click the RGB channel again to turn that back on. Go back to layers. And then on group 1, we will make a mask, a layer mask there. We can hold Alt, click on that. There's our layer mask. So we're going to push this layer mask to be white in the sky, black where the sky is not. And we'll do that with a Control L to bring up the levels. Now, the first thing we are going to do here is push black until foreground starts to become quite black. So it's probably a good place right there. We will push white to get the sky more white. We want to have these as far apart as possible. And I would suggest kind of looking at the edges of the house as well as the branches. So we want to retain the branches as much as possible within reason. Push the white until we lose them a little bit. We can adjust the gray as a last step here. So maybe that. We're cutting into a lot of the branches, as you can tell. Like if I push this back, you can see there's a lot of branches there. Cutting into them a little bit here. That's fine. We want more of a harsh mask to start with. So there's that. I can push this in maybe a bit more. Although we still have some gray in the sky. We don't want any gray in the sky at all. Push the white. You have to kind of do this to taste because you want none of the sky to be gray. Which that looks fine. Push the black point out a little bit maybe. Like I said, do this to taste. You want some of the branches there, but you also want none of the sky per se. Okay, so we'll go with that. That looks fairly close. It's a little harsh in some places, but that's pretty close. So we'll hit OK. Now, I am going to make a selection around the obvious parts of the image that are not the sky. Now, this is probably the most time-consuming part of the whole endeavor. Just make a very basic pen, polygonal, however you want to make this selection. Whatever tool you want to use, just go around like so. Also, remember to stay slightly inside the edge, ever so slightly, because we're going to feather this selection by a pixel or two by the time we are done. So give yourself a little bit of breathing room. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just give yourself a pixel or two. Okay, gotten to the edge. Let me close this out. There is one spot I know I need to remove from this, which is this area right here below the storm drain. I'm going to hold Alt to add a polygonal subtraction around this area here because I want this to be sky replaced. Boom. All right. So there is our selection. I'm going to hit Shift X to feather, and I'm going to just go ahead and feather it by 1, keep it soft, hit Delete. Now that whole area is black, okay? I'm going to hit Alt, click on the group. All right, so now I am going to go ahead and hit Control J while selecting the original layer to make a copy of it. Hide the original, just a nice thing to do. Have your original saved, use a duplicate. I'm gonna hit Alt, click and drag this on top, hit Control I to invert. There's our sky replacement. It looks like crap. If you scroll in here, zoom in, it's cutting into the branches pretty harshly. Does not look good, right? So how do we fix this? This is where the secret steps come into play. So we're going to go ahead and do another Control J on this layer, hide the original, and click the layer mask of this one here. And then in the properties panel, we're going to go to select and mask. Now, I recommend whatever thing you use to indicate the masked areas or whatever, turn that all the way down because we're just going to kind of look at the image as it is normally. And then the output is going to be to layer mask down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to feather the edge of this while looking at the trees. Just feather it by like a pixel. Okay, and as you can see, some of the white fringes come back again. And to combat this, we're going to shift the edge out in the plus area, okay, to bring back some of the detail in these fine branches, okay? So I may have feathered it like a bit too much here. You have to do this to taste. Find a nice balance between shifting the edge and feathering. Okay. You can also toy with the contrast, see if that helps a little bit. You want to keep some of the fringe, not a lot. Okay, feather it a little bit. So you want the smallest amount of fringe possible while maintaining detail in the branches. So that's probably about good. I'm going to hit OK. All right, so now we have this, kind of fringy, blurry mess. And while on this layer, we click on this layer, we're going to go to layer, matting, color decontaminate. All right. Now, while on this layer, you are going to adjust this to taste. Basically, what we're doing is we are turning the fringed edges of this tree, which was originally white because there was clouds in the background. We are decontaminating the white color of the edges with the color of the non-edges. So we're turning this fringe into the color of the branches. So it will make it look like it's not just this ghosty wisp, but instead the actual branch detail kind of being like softly feathered off. So you're going to adjust this to taste. Usually around 60 to 70% is good. So just crank this up until you start to see a difference. Now around here you can see it's starting to get interesting. Like I said, adjust this to taste because it's going to be different on every photo. Like if I have it down around 60, that's not quite enough. I might need to bring it up to here. There's still kind of some stuff here. How much do I want to introduce? That doesn't look too bad. Do I want to bring it down maybe a little bit? Maybe 70? Maybe 75? 73. I think 73 looks okay. We hit okay. All right. Now that's pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. But what we're going to do is we're going to take it a step further to refine it a little bit more differently. We're going to go ahead and click on this layer mask on the image we have, hit delete, and now you can see what we've actually done to the image, which is extend the area of this tree in a really gross way. It looks bad. But what we will do now is we'll hold Alt, take this original sharp mask from this image, click and drag it onto this, and now we've copied it over. So let's select that mask, zoom in, and you can see it's sharp again, right? But now, with this mask selected again, we can go to Selected Mask and feather it and shift the edge to taste. We had to shift it out a certain amount to see what we were doing, but now we can do the same thing again. So I can shift it out maybe like or feather it out like by a pixel or so, shift the edge out to taste. Okay, so this is about where I've landed. Feather of 1.2, shift edge 20. And as you can see, that's not bad. Not bad at all. Only upon close scrutiny do you get kind of, differing things here. Now, you could stop here. There's other things you can do to, I think, enhance the image. One of which is to take the sky and actually decrease the opacity of it to blend with the original sky a little bit better. Now, a way you can do this is just to copy the original layer, stick it behind the sky, turn it on, and set the sky to an opacity of maybe 90. So you just make it, slightly more similar to the original color. That's something that you can do. Also, I would suggest this for a general color shift in the image. Duplicate the sky layer, put it at the top. And then up here, you're going to just go ahead and just kind of position it over the whole photo. Set the blend mode to color, and then set the opacity to like somewhere between 5 and 10%. And then you're going to hold Alt and clip it to the image below. Now, it's very subtle. You probably can't even see much of what's going on my screen. But setting this to a color blend mode with an opacity of 5 is very subtly affecting the color temperature of the image. It just makes it match the sky a tiny bit more. Something else that you can do here is to go down to the sky layer, go and make a curves adjustment layer, hold Alt and click to clip it there. And then in the sky adjustment layer, you can just kind of play around with the brightness of this a little bit. I would say you can maybe make an anchor at around 75. I like to make little anchors in my curves adjustments at times. Make another one up here, around here at 180. Keep it at 180, fine. And then in the middle at 128, I can bring it up to 136. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. You can even change this out here to the 180. Change that up to like 188. Just kind of brightens it up a little bit. I like that. Now, I will say an important element of this whole thing is to find something that will work with your trees. If I had chosen a different sky, I may not have been able to cut out these branches in such a fine way as if I was working with something that was maybe a little more cloudy or a little more blue. You kind of want to adjust the brightness of the sky to match your image. That is a very important element of compositing these things. So that is my overall thing here. You can take the original mask and maybe feather it by like 0.2 pixels, just make it a bit softer, make it, especially around the edges of the house, make it fit with the image a little bit better. I very strongly encourage you to play with the opacity of your sky, see if you can blend it a little bit more with the original sky, and also to change the brightness or the saturation. You might take this sky and think, you know what, I think I should increase its saturation. And I'll do that with an adjustment layer right here. Just kind of crank it up a little bit. Maybe I kind of like, you know, a plus 15 on the saturation. Maybe I think that looks a little bit better, you know, before, after. You might like that. Play with these things, see what works. If it doesn't look natural, don't go with it. Key principle. If it doesn't look natural, skip it. So that is my tutorial for high-end sky replacement. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful. Like I said, go check out Klaus's video. He goes into a little bit more detail than I do. Just I would suggest, you know, checking out all the different sky replacement tutorials out there on YouTube if you haven't already. Like I said, I assume you're an intermediate. I assume you're familiar with Select Sky, with the sky replacement tool, both in Photoshop and in Luminar. But there are other methods that, you know, select the color range of the sky. That's interesting as well. You know, just have all of these in your tool belt so that when it comes time to actually do a sky replacement for your clients, you're not at a loss for what to do and you're floundering. This is something that you need to be able to handle no matter what the situation is. And I have been on the short end of the stick with some situations where I had a bunch of exteriors, like, you know, maybe 15 exterior photos where I just replaced the sky for free because I was early on in my business. I wasn't charging for it. And it was just a pain in the butt to get it to look right. Manually brushing out parts of, you know, the trim of houses with a brush, not knowing what I was doing. And it was taking 2 hours of my time extra on top of the original editing of the shoot. So I don't want you to be in that boat. This is something that I think that we need to figure out, get good at, and have mastered, because it is a very specific situation, but it is something that I think we're going to run into a lot as real estate photographers, especially if we're not outsourcing our editing, which I am not. So I wanted to get good at this. I think that I'm reasonably okay at it. I'm able to do it convincingly, I hope. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, please subscribe. Check out the other stuff that I have. This is the first video that I'm doing. I have other video ideas in mind. If you have critiques, questions, comments, criticisms, anything, leave it in the comments. I want to cultivate an atmosphere and a community here on the Atlas Image YouTube channel of support, camaraderie, encouragement, and just removing the barriers and the gateways of entry to becoming an advanced real estate photographer. I want to share my knowledge, and I hope that you guys share yours with me as well. So that is all. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for whatever I have coming up next. God bless.